Why is the Workstation the most hated keyboard on this fucking planet? Seriously, you don't see people saying, oh, an electric guitar? Why the fuck would anybody need that? You don't see people complaining because somebody put a recording system into a piano. There are player pianos everywhere. This Clavier, Steinway stereo system, the QRS system that is universal that you can put on any piano you want, right? And of course, there's also piano disc, you know, and you don't see people complaining and saying that, well, you already have a computer. Why the hell do you need a keyboard or an instrument for that matter? Yet somehow, when you put a synthesizer, a sequencer, recording capability, synthesis engine, sampling, effects, and everything else into one fucking keyboard, suddenly that's a problem? Why? Why are we treating the workstations like it's some kind of a fucking crime against music? That's exactly what it feels like to me. The way I got slammed and ostracized on Reddit for making a post on why it feels like such a fucking crime to have a simple 8-track sequencer on a synthesizer is ludicrous to me. And that's why I started this channel. You know? So let's get into it. One, the workstation didn't fail. The industry abandoned it. It's been around for decades. Yes, it's evolved. You know, some workstations have been revolutionary, but those have been far and few between. I can name a few right now. The Technics WSA1, physical modeling synthesizer with the 16-track sequencer. The Yamaha QS300 is another. They literally took an arranger, turned it into a groove box, and made a fucking synthesizer out of it and turned it into a keyboard. It's unbelievable to me, right? You've got the Phantom X, the MC909, and the Phantom S series. Those two this day have some of the best sequencers I've ever seen on any workstation. I hate to say it too, but the M3 is another. As much as I fucking hate the M3 because it got the updates that the Oasis never did, and those updates still haven't made it to Kronos or Nautilus, it's fucking ludicrous. Yeah, I'm putting the M3 there. Now, the silver lining to that is we have Chrome. Yeah, go figure. Chrome rules. The only caveat is 16 tracks. We are capped at 16 tracks no matter what we're using. How is it that Kurzweil is the only one that's going beyond 16 tracks? They've always had 32 track sequencers from the K2500 series to current, to the current vast system. That's crazy, right? But here's the problem though. Fundamentally, the concept has been sitting in roughly the same place for the last 30 fucking years. And it's insane when you consider what computers can do today. Look at the processing power we have. Look at the storage capacities, the displays, the connectivity. Look at what modern software can accomplish. And yet somehow we have ended up with less dedicated hardware than ever before. Why? The workstation should have evolved into something fucking incredible by now. Yet the industry basically said, well, you already have a computer. What the fuck? Why? Is that a reason to abandon the most important piece to a musician who actually likes to sit down and fucking play? Newsflash, guys. Some of us like to actually sit down and play our instruments. Are we musicians or are we engineers? Which brings me to point number 2. Not everybody wants to use a fucking computer. This is probably the biggest point I make on this channel. In fact, I would argue this is entirely what this channel is about. So let me say it again. Not everybody wants to use a fucking computer to make music on. I don't, and I'm not the only one. Again, some of us actually like playing our instruments. Like a fucking piano. I want a keyboard. I want dedicated controls. I want to turn the fucking thing on and plug it into the fucking wall and play it. I want to hit record. And I want everything right there in front of me. For the modern era. The last fucking thing I want to do is open up a fucking laptop, troubleshoot drivers, hunt through endless menus. Like, you want to talk about menu diving? There are more menus in a fucking DAW than the entire Triton put together. Or Kronos for that matter. How are you guys complaining about menu diving? Everything in a DAW is a fucking menu. Yet you have the audacity to complain that Kronos has too many menus. Where are the menus? Where? You've got tabs, 2 rows of tabs on the screen. There is no fucking menu button on a Kronos. There's one on Nautilus, but there's only one button. Everything else is a fucking tab. My Triton has one menu button. One. And then in the top right corner, you've got dedicated functions for the sequencer, for the combination mode, for the program mode, etc. And you want to complain about menu diving. Give me a fucking break. The fucking audacity of you guys. Really? I also don't want to stare at a fucking computer screen for 3 hours configuring software before I'm even able to hit record and make a fucking sound. And I sure as fuck don't want my musical instrument to be a fucking USB MIDI controller that's basically a fucking peripheral for your computer. Guys, you really need to learn the difference between a computer and a real fucking keyboard and instrument. This is not an unreasonable request. Number 3, we have got to stop comparing sounds. We have got to start comparing capability. This drives me absolutely fucking insane. How are people constantly comparing synthesizers based on fucking sounds? Oh, this one sounds better. This one has better samples. This one sounds warmer. Who gives a fuck? They're all in the same league. Montage is in the same league sonically as a core Kronos. So is the Phantom. So is the MPC. We have mind-blowing DACs in these keyboards now. We don't need to compare sounds anymore. The platforms have become too powerful. It's really that simple. And it's not simply because of what it sounds like. It's because of what the architecture allows you to do. Multiple synth engines, sampling, sequencing, recording, effects, combinations, control, integration, the ability to manipulate those systems in ways that go far beyond simply calling up a fucking preset. So please, for the love of fucking God, understand the fucking instruments you're using before you criticize it. Kronos and Nautilus especially. Learn what the fuck a synth engine is. Learn the architecture. Understand that a synth engine is Kronos is literally a separate instrument in its entirety. SGX2 is not EP1. EP1 is not AL1. AL1 is not Mod 7. You cannot compare VPM and FM synthesis to subtractive virtual analog synthesis. They are two completely separate synthesizers. But the difference is they're on one fucking platform. That's the difference. You're not browsing through sounds on a fucking Kronos. You're browsing through the synth engines that contain those fucking sounds. Guys, learn your instruments and learn what the fuck they are before you go criticizing them and dismissing them based on preset sounds. It's not fucking difficult, dude. That's when you can criticize something. Because here's the thing. The future of hardware isn't going to be determined by who has the best presets or the best sound quality. It's going to be determined by one thing and one thing only: capability. Number 4, are we musicians or are we engineers? I have nothing against the DAW. I have a problem with bad workflows. Why the fuck does making music on a computer have to feel like you need a fucking degree just to learn the basics? This isn't AutoCAD. I'm not designing a fucking bridge where I'm doing complex mathematical calculations on materials and engineering the materials so it stays for 100 fucking years. I'm trying to make music. Why do you need to learn the entire fucking software ecosystem just to do something that should be intuitive? Why the fuck do I need a computer in the first place? An audio interface, a keyboard controller, software, plugins, drivers, updates, menus, windows, panels, tracks, buses, routing. Just to sit down and create a fucking piece of music. How did we get to the point that we need a fucking degree just to learn the basics? We're not engineers. We're just musicians trying to make music. And somewhere along the line, we have completely confused the two. So let me make it really fucking clear. A computer is a computer. It is not a musical instrument. It never will be. Now, if you embed that computer inside a real fucking instrument that you can plug into a fucking wall and actually play, the way the Oasis, Kronos, and Nautilus are, all day. Shut up and take my money all day. That I'm on board for. Number 5, people think there's no market for it. No, there is a market for it. Nobody's just willing to spend the fucking money. My problem isn't cost. And the question shouldn't be how much does it cost? The question should really be, does it exist? And as of right now, no, it doesn't. And this is what pisses me off more than anything else. Because whenever somebody proposes to build something like this, somebody inevitably is going to say, oh, but there's no market for it. Really? That's your argument? Is it because the market doesn't exist yet? Or is it because the market exists, but it's too expensive? And you telling me something shouldn't exist because you haven't seen it before. That's not how innovation works. Somebody has to create the fucking thing. Somebody has to take the risk and put the money into it. Somebody has to say, fuck it, we're building it. And whatever happens, happens after that. We'll let the market decide if it sells. And if there's no market for it, then how come we have a DAWs community right now where people are spending thousands of dollars on gear just to avoid using a computer? Or the poor guy working at an at a desk job or in an office using the computer all day every day, and the last fucking thing he wants to do is come home to use a computer just to make music on. What about the people who are using the DAW every fucking day and are still confused by it 20 fucking years later? What about the person who can't even fucking create and thinks there's something wrong with them because they don't understand the DAW and the platform and they're so fucking lost and confused? It's like, where do I even fucking begin? How do I do this? How do I do that? Why isn't it straightforward? We're not going to know unless we build it, right? And that's when you find out whether the market exists or not. But based on what I'm saying, there's a huge untapped market for this. You know, I read about one guy on Reddit who bought 3 workstations just to get away from the fucking computer. 3. I think he bought a Nautilus, a Montage, and a Phantom. He bought all 3 just so he doesn't have to use a fucking computer. If that doesn't tell me that there's a market for this, I don't know what does. And then you've got your synthesizers, your drum machines. More and more people are going after the MPC than ever before. Some people are going with the grid-based sequencers, Euro rack systems. And as I said, some people are still buying workstations. Multiple instruments doing different jobs. Again, thousands of dollars are being spent just to get away from the fucking computer. And we're supposed to believe that there isn't a market for a single instrument that intelligently combines those capabilities. Give me a fucking break. Which brings me to the next point. The instrument we should have had a fucking decade ago. This is not a fucking top 5 list. This is not here are the best chrono sounds. This is not another meaningless spec sheet fucking comparison. I'm not interested in any of that crap. I'm interested in where this technology should go. What happens when you take the workstation concept seriously? What happens when you build a synthesizer first and a production environment second? What happens when the sequencer is there when you need it without turning the entire instrument into a fucking computer interface or peripheral? What happens when you combine serious synthesis, sampling, sequencing, recording, mixing, effects, connectivity, MIDI and audio, and control into something that is a real instrument? You have DAW capability without the convoluted cluster fuck of a system. That's the future I want to explore. And maybe that instrument costs $2,000. Maybe it costs $5,000. Maybe it costs $10,000. Fuck the cost. Let's build the thing first and then let the market decide. Which brings me to number 7. This is where I step in. I'm fighting this with everything I have. And that's what this channel is about. I'm not here because I think the Kronos is perfect. Or because I want a better montage. Or a better Phantom. Or an MPC XL in an 88 key workstation. I'm here because I look at all of these instruments and I see pieces of a future that never fucking happened. We have more technology than ever before today. Yet we dreamed of a time where the ideas were there, but the technology was less than half or a fraction of the power that we have today. And instead of taking the workstation to the next level, the industry basically handed everybody a computer and said, here, use this. What the fuck? Not everybody wants to use a fucking computer to make music on. Again, some of us want to play real fucking instruments, plug them into the fucking wall, turn it on, hit record, all the controls right in front of us. There's zero setup, zero convoluted clusterfuck of bullshit. It's immediate. We have continuity and permeance along with it. And we get the capability of modern technology without the convoluted clusterfuck of a DAW getting between us and the music. So if that's what you're looking for, if you've ever looked at modern technology and thought, why the fuck isn't there a better way to do this? Then you're in the right place. Because this channel is not about looking backward. This channel is about the future that we wanted in the 2000s that never fucking happened. And that's the future I want to bring today. Period. End of story. So this channel isn't about some fucking Kronos montage or Phantom or even the MPC. This channel is about the future that we wanted in the 2000s that never fucking happened. So let me say it one last fucking time. Not everybody wants to use a fucking computer to make music on. Period. How's that for an intro?